Hello and welcome to my studio. I wanted to appear here publicly, yes, and defend my comments on the KSL News article about immigration. This involves a family in Park City, Utah, and I'll probably prepare more than 2 videos, maybe even more than 3, we'll just see. But the comment that I thought was very worrisome was the one that said they should have applied. The individual should have applied, their family should have applied, and I thought this is very interesting. And so I already shared an analogy of purchasing something in a store where the storekeeper does not keep that particular product. But first of all, let me say I'm not an attorney. I'm not offering immigration advice. I'm just sharing my experience and the information I have from my personal research. Now, let's consider this hypothetical example. Imagine that I had applied to Trump University and I had a stack of letters that were returned, very many of them, because I was trying to enroll in a program there. And I ended up sharing this information, this returned mail with a local news story. And after communicating with me, they thought, wow, this is interesting. We want to share this story. And the people who responded to that article said, she should have applied again. So what do you think, when you know what Trump University is, what do you think when people are saying, I should have applied? You're thinking the university doesn't exist. There's no way she can apply. And you're thinking maybe she can apply if the university reopens. And why am I using this example? Because in my experience, it's kind of similar with immigration. I can apply as many times as I want, for as long as the channel that I'm trying to travel through is closed. My application is not going to open it. My applying to Trump University will not reopen the institution. It doesn't matter how many times I apply. The university does not exist as far as I know. All right, and then there were people who were saying, oh, if a person has been in the United States for these many years, 10 years, 20 years, why didn't they apply? Let me say this. In my experience as well with the United States jail system and prison system, how long you have lived in a jailhouse or in a prison, I'll call them homes, or in a prison home, counts in that system, because how long people stay is part of that system. With immigration, how long you have been waiting for the path to reopen itself does not open the doors for you. At least that's not been my experience. So when people say, oh, you've been, how long were they here? 20 years? The person was in the United States when they were 1 year old, if I remember correctly. In the United States, infants don't file application forms. Infants do not communicate with the government. Children don't communicate with the government. So I was very surprised when on that KSL article, people were saying, oh, that many years? Somebody should have filed a long time ago. Children don't file any paperwork to the U.S. immigration. And now when the person was an adult, then that's a different story. Because I know that as an adult, I can speak to immigration directly. Now, a different issue. Another person said on that platform, so they are using marriage to stay in the United States. I want to zone in on this idea of zoning and talk about birth, the miracle of birth. We don't choose where we were born. So I was born in the continent of Africa, you were born someplace else. It doesn't reflect any moral authority or an intellectual achievement. I kind of compare it to when people tell me, oh, you're so pretty, you're so beautiful. I was born this way. I didn't do anything. Looking like this is not an academic achievement. It's not a moral status. I didn't do anything. I was just born. I didn't decide where my nose should be, where my mouth should be. I'm using this to explain the idea about the comment where people said, oh, some are using, they're using marriage. You are also using something else, and I'll tell you in a second what it is that you're using. As I exemplified, I didn't choose to look like this. I didn't choose to be born where I was born. Maybe you chose to be born in the United States, but the actual process of birth itself was not your choice, and you can't claim that to be your intellectual achievement or your moral authority over other people who've been born elsewhere. So when you say other people are using something to be in the United States, remember that you're also using, you're being born in the United States. That is what you're using. That is your channel to be here because you were born here. And in my experience, there are different ways. Some people get married and that is their channel. I saw people flagging the idea of getting married there. If I had somebody to marry, I would have been married a long time ago, and maybe that's how I could have attained my status, but that's not my journey. That's other people's journey. Another example that I wanted to share with people who are saying, just apply. Imagine you were looking for a job at an animal shelter, and you wanted to groom dogs. Yeah, because you just finished a course, a special course in animal husbandry. I don't know what it would be called. And you wanted to work at that animal shelter in your neighborhood. And they told you that jobs are available on voluntary basis and there is no need to apply. And you're just sharing this. Of course, this is not in a news article, but you're sharing it on your Facebook post. And some people are saying, just apply. Just apply. Hear how nonsensical that is? You cannot apply to the animal shelter for that kind of a job because that position does not exist. But if they decide they're looking for people to do some dog grooming, then you can apply. Now I return to people that I was speaking with on the KSL news article. When you tell people just apply, some of you couldn't even name the form that you're telling others to use to apply. You don't know the form. You're not talking about the law that is governing whatever situation they should be applying for. All people say is just apply, just apply, just apply. How is that helpful? So you're blaming migrants for systemic barriers? When the system does not provide a pathway for people to apply, how is it that the blame is shifted onto them? You can't apply if there's no pathway. Or if you can apply, please let me know. Like I said, I'm not an attorney. I happen to have an interest in immigration affairs because I have been through the process and I'm still in it. It's been a while. So I will be back next time, not about immigration, but probably about teaching a language. Again, remember, if somebody tells me just apply to Trump University, you'll know what to tell them. It doesn't exist. And saying I should apply is just nonsensical. Have a lovely Sunday, and let me know if there's any particular topic you're interested to learn in Sesotho. Until then, Salahante. Aviento. Hablemos luego.